Factsverse presents Magicians Who Passed Right in Front of Their Audience. Number 1. Charles Rowen. Charles Rowen was a magician in the 1920s and 1930s. He was also known as Carr the Magician, and he was an escape artist and a magician in South Africa. In 1930, he was performing in Springfontein, Orange Free State, South Africa. He was going to attempt being tied up in a straitjacket while a car came straight towards him. The car was coming at 45 miles per hour, which gave him just 10 to 15 seconds to escape. Sadly, he did not, and he was hit. His injuries were too bad he almost lost his leg and then died shortly after. This all happened in front of an audience, which included small children. Number 2. Madame DeLinksy. The trick where the magician stops a speeding bullet is a very popular one, but it can also be dangerous. In November 1820, a Polish magician and his wife, Madame DeLinksy, were performing the trick when it went horribly wrong. Madame DeLinksy was supposed to stop bullets coming from a firing squad of 6 men. All of the men were told to use blanks in their guns. However, one loaded his with a live round. Madame DeLinksy was shot in the abdomen and she died 2 days later. Number 3. Benjamin Rucker. Benjamin Rucker was a magician who performed under the stage name Black Herman. He was one of the most prominent African-American magicians of the time. He often performed in the South, and his main trick was to be buried alive and then exhumed 3 days later. The film from the trick would be the introduction to his show. In April 1934, at the end of a show, he had a heart attack and died. Many people believed it was all fake, therefore his promoters invited the public to his funeral to prove that he really was dead. Number 4. Dr. Vivian Hensley. Dr. Vivian Hensley was a dentist and an amateur magician. His favorite trick was swallowing a rusty razor blade. When he did the trick, he would let the razor blade slide down his sleeve, making it look like he swallowed it. On July 6, 1938, the razor blade accidentally slipped down his throat. His wife had him swallow cotton balls and she rushed him to the hospital. They couldn't find the razor blade through an X-ray or surgery, and he died 4 days later. Number 5. Janaka Basnayake. An amateur magician named Janaka Basnayake from Sri Lanka decided to try to beat the world record for being buried alive the longest. On March 5, 2012, he got his family to bury him 10 feet underground and then covered him with soil and wood. They left him buried for 7.5 hours before his family dug him up. When they did, he wasn't breathing. He was rushed to the hospital and was pronounced dead. The Guinness Book of World Records didn't even recognize the record because it was so dangerous that they didn't want people attempting this dangerous trick. Number 6. Royden Joseph Gilbert Raison de la Ginesta. Ginesta was an American magician whose signature trick was the water barrel escape trick. The idea of the trick is to fill a barrel of water and lock it. The magician would need to escape before they drown. When Ginesta attempted this trick in 1930, the barrel he used was dented. Therefore, he didn't have enough space to escape. He was unable to get out of the barrel, and he died in front of an audience. Number 7. Jeff Rayburn Hooper. On July 7, 1984, Jeff Rayburn Hooper was set to perform a trick where he jumped into Winona Lake while shackled, and he would escape the shackles and swim to shore. While he was practicing the trick in front of his assistant, crew, and a group of friends, he died. He swam out about 100 feet and got out of the shackles. When he got to the top, he called for his assistant because he could not swim to shore due to the high winds. The wind also made it difficult for the rescuers to reach him, and he drowned. Number 8. Joseph Amazing Joe Burns. On Halloween night in 1992, which happened to be the anniversary of Harry Houdini's death, Amazing Joe decided to perform the same trick that Houdini failed at, being buried alive. He had himself handcuffed and then locked in a homemade coffin. He was then to be buried 7 feet underground with 7 tons of dirt and cement poured on him. Despite everyone's warning that he needed to create some sort of illusion to survive this trick, he didn't listen. Sadly, the dirt and cement collapsed on him and he was crushed to death. He didn't even have a chance to get out of the shackles. Number 9. William Elsworth Robinson. William Elsworth Robinson was an American magician known as Chung Ling Soo. He used the persona of a Chinese magician and he never broke character. He never spoke English on stage, and even when speaking to journalists. On March 23, 1918, he was performing at the Woods Green Empire in London. He was attempting the bullet catch and he forgot to clean the gun after his last performance. There was enough gunpowder in the gun to launch the bullet right into his chest. When he told the producers to bring down the curtain, it was the first time that he ever broke character. Number 10. Sigmund Neuberger. Sigmund Neuberger is one of the most famous magicians who passed away in front of their audience. He was a German magician who went by the name of the Great Lafayette. He was one of the highest-paid magicians of his time. He loved his dog Beauty, who was a gift to him from Harry Houdini. Before the show opened, Beauty died. He made a deal with the city where he would agree to be buried wherever he died if they would allow his dog to be buried in Piers Hill Cemetery. On May 9, 1911, he was performing a trick when the building caught fire. He escaped, but he went back in to save a horse. He died in the fire, as did 10 other people. This is because the side doors were locked to make sure that nobody would sneak into the show. The city went back on the deal, and they buried him right beside Beauty. Subscribe for more.